Hello and welcome to our latest information podcast from Copeland Council, as we try to keep in as much communication with our residents as possible to make sure everyone is up to date with what's going on and has an understanding of some of the issues that we're facing in trying to support residents, and also, helping you understand what you can do to work with us to support your businesses out there. I'm delighted today to once again be joined by our Chief Executive, Pat Graham, who will talk broadly about issues right across the council and how COVID is impacting. And I'm delighted to have our heads of service from environmental health, Jackie O'Reilly, joining us today. I know a number of businesses in particular will have come across Jackie in the course of her work during the first lockdown and through the recent lockdown, and not wanting to embarrass Jackie in any way, but Jackie's been one of the real stars for Copeland through what's been an incredibly challenging period for the council in general, but certainly for the areas that Jackie has got to look after, which normal times present enough of a challenge, but with all the additional workload that her and her team have had to do, have presented real challenges that they've rose to, and are doing a fantastic job for the authority and for our residents. Jackie, could you just think back to normal times, if you still can, after 9 months in this COVID situation, and give us a brief overview of what your department would do in normal working times?
Okay, thank you, Mike. I am fortunate enough to have a very, very good team behind me, so that has made dealing with the pressures of the last months much easier, because it is a great team and everyone has worked together. In normal times, the work that we cover is a wide range of things, from inspecting food premises to investigating workplace accidents, taking private water sampling, dealing with port health, dealing with emergency planning, dealing with noise complaints, smoke complaints, drainage, coastal defence. There is a whole long list. So it is work we are all used to, responding to inquiries from our residents and also responding to inquiries from our businesses. And I think all of that has helped us know how to approach support for our businesses and residents during COVID times.
Yeah, I agree. Jackie, businesses are trying and they want to meet COVID rules. What are the main things they need to do to protect the customers, to protect their own staff, and importantly, to protect themselves as well?
Okay. For our businesses, we have a very, very good level of compliance across our businesses, and it's always clear from when we're in contact with them and when we're responding to inquiries or visiting them that everyone has got the interests of their customers right at the centre of everything, and they want to look after their staff and they want to look after themselves. What they've all been doing is following the main 7 rules from the government, which is to make sure that you understand the risks in your workplace and you've done a COVID risk assessment, that you are cleaning more often than you used to, even if you had very high standards of cleaning, that you're providing hand sanitizer for your customers to use, that where it's appropriate, you're asking people to wear face coverings, that you are ensuring that there is social distancing within your premises, and that if you can, you are increasing ventilation, that you are, and most importantly, that you are supporting the NHS test and trace system, and that you are able to turn people away if they are showing COVID-like symptoms, and that could be including your own employees who may want to do the best and come into work and aren't recognising the symptoms that they've got. But all our businesses then have a range of specific rules for each business type that goes into a little bit more detail, but they're all following those main 7 rules.
Okay, so Jackie, where could businesses find out about what they can and can't do?
The best way to find out what you can and can't do is to either use your own trades association. So if you are a member of a trade association, there's a lot of very, very good information out there. You have the .gov website, and then most importantly of all, I would always say that you should sort of call through and talk to environmental health. And if you want to, something you're not sure about, something you've read but doesn't quite make sense to you and you just want to talk it through, or something that seems really new for your business, then it really is important. Just call. The more we all talk to each other and help each other through this, the better.
So there'll be some businesses out there who may be a little hesitant on the basis they may think they're not doing everything 100% as they should be. And if they sort of alert environmental health, they may get served with a notice or be prosecuted. Could you explain the approach that your team are taking?
I would always encourage anyone to contact us, because it isn't a case of ever jumping straight through to enforcement. We very much take the engage and work with people, encourage people, but most importantly to explain why the requirements are there. And it's always easier to be able to comply with something if you understand it. And it really is, enforcement is always our last resort. So a lot of businesses do worry that they can't call us in until everything is perfect. And it's much, much better to talk to us at an early stage, especially during your planning. And as part of that, we have expanded our team. So our team always worry that we're not being able to respond to businesses quickly enough. So we know that almost by the time you're asking, you want the information the next day. And sometimes it may be the end of, it can take us 5 days to get back to people. So we have expanded our team. And so please call us, use the information sources that we've got available. And also we do have the added benefit in parts of Copeland of our shop local officer, who is also able to explain how to operate safely in COVID times. So do not ever worry that it will be a straight leap to enforcement, because by the very fact that you're asking questions means that your willingness is there to try to do the right thing. And then it's working together. We will all encourage each other, and we will always give time to businesses to achieve something. The only time enforcement action would ever be taken is where there is, blatant disregard. It's a very unsafe situation, and all attempts to encourage and engage have failed.
I think that's really important points that you've just made there, Jack, and that's an important message to get out to people. Earlier, you mentioned NHS test and trace. How are Copeland supporting this important area of work?
Copeland are working as part of a Cumbria-wide approach to test and trace. And we've had a system in place working with our Director of Public Health since June, before the national system was there, because very early on we all recognised that it's part of the contain approach. But if you can identify where you've got increasing numbers or certain workplaces involved in something, the sooner that you recognise that and work with them, and the sooner the message for people to self-isolate is given, and that those people have a point of contact to ask inquiries, ask about things they're not sure of, the better. So we had a system in place from June, and we have carried that on through in Cumbria. So what that means for the team is that we're involved, and it's a 7-day-a-week approach. So a number of our residents may have had calls from the local team, and may even had a call from me. And it's all part of ensuring that they know their test result, that they have made contact with all of their close contacts and asked them to self-isolate. And then what we do locally as well is ensure that their welfare sort of is looked after, to make sure that people have got a way to get out, get food and have medication, and that their support network may be affected by COVID as well. So we give that locally. What we also do locally is deal with education settings and work to deal with other outbreaks that are in businesses.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Pat, as Chief Executive of the Council, you must be, really pleased with the approach that the environmental health team and the kind of results that they've delivered for our community during this pandemic.
Absolutely, Mike, and alongside many other teams, but Jackie and her team, working with the Director of Public Health and across Cumbria, have been outstanding. I can't emphasise enough the volume of legislation, the volume of work required, the work with businesses, the track and trace, it's a tremendous amount of work executed to a very high standard, massively positive feedback from the businesses, who were absolutely terrified of making approaches in those early days because life was hard enough. And the feedback we get is actually, not only is Jackie and her team supported those businesses, but actually, the customers really recognise and feel safe. And that's been the difference between some businesses surviving and not to date. And that will continue. And of course, as well as the day job, which Jackie outlined earlier, this is on top of it. And the nature of businesses that we're supporting are 7 days a week, some of them but it's closed at the moment. So Jackie and her team are working 7 days a week, early mornings, late nights, making sure that everybody is safe. Tremendous effort, delighted and incredibly proud of them all.
I think it's only fair for me to actually mention, and you can both comment on this one. Colin Cox at the County Council. I think we should recognise the huge contribution and the workload and the pressure that Colin's under. I think we should recognise how our council and by extension the community throughout Cumbria and for us in particular Copeland.
I think that's absolutely right. My Colin is a very close colleague of ours. We meet on a weekly basis. He has stretched himself very thinly. I think he's been outstanding. He's worked round the clock. He's a real pragmatist. He's allowed and enabled to go ahead that maybe other Director of Public Health wouldn't in the interest of business and community. I think he's been extraordinary and we're so lucky to have him. And what I would also say on the track and trace, before the government system was in place, he made the call that Cumbria would go early and got us up working on a local system a couple of weeks at least before government made that call. And lives have been saved because of that early decision. Our track and trace in Cumbria has been outstanding. And so I can't speak highly enough of him. And I think we're very fortunate to have him.
Just on a broader perspective, Pat, as a local authority, we're a business like any other business, and we're not immune from the impacts of COVID and the effect that it can have on the day-to-day running of any organisation. How does that impact you and your role in running the council effectively and efficiently and keeping all the wheels turning?
Yeah, just like any other, we continue to deal with the COVID challenge on a daily basis. We've heard from Jackie about the volume of new legislation and new work on top of what we already did, with limited resources. Also, over and above that, there's the impact of COVID directly. For example, in our waste teams, we work on bubbles of 3, and to keep people safe. But obviously, with social isolating, that means we have to isolate 3 at a time when that contact comes through. Pressurise our waste services tremendously because it's 3 staff at a time. And of course, as well as that, the COVID issues, we're in winter and there's general kind of seasonal illness, particularly in those very, very physical, demanding frontline services. So we're having to manage that on a daily basis. You've done in your podcast, Mike, around all the grants, the business support grants. We're looking to also extend the hardship grant, and that has had an implication for us on council tax collection, of course. Site visits have to be done differently in planning and building control. Our lawyers are working through the legislation that comes out daily to make sure we're all doing the right thing. So it's a continuous process. We haven't been able to see our customers face to face in the way that we would have wanted to. We were just about starting to get back to something of a face-to-face contact when we lock down again. So the challenges are continuous. We are working through them. We meet weekly to discuss the week ahead. And this is going to be with us for some time yet, even with talk of vaccine. We're going to be managing this as a business. Our workforce are part of our community. We haven't got the highest rate in the country by any stretch, but we're impacted by it. And what we've looked for from our workforce is sensible and safe activity, both during work and at home, but also agility and flexibility. People have done the things that they wouldn't normally do, backfilled. And again, I'm incredibly proud of the way that we've handled COVID. We're a really strong team here at Copeland, and that has been borne out of us. And in fact, some of our workforce that wouldn't normally work between Christmas and New Year have actually come to us to say, actually, could we come in between Christmas and New Year? So we don't want, parts of our work to fall too far behind. And I think that is a testament to the commitment of some of our teams. And as I say, we're very, very fortunate in Copeland to have. Mike, I think you're on mute.
I am, again, schoolboy error. At the risk of repeating myself from previous podcasts. Anyone who's tuning in and listening to this today and finding it informative, please share it with other people where the information would be useful. I think today, yet again from senior members of staff at Copeland, I hope it comes through that we are keen to help and support people as much as possible. The comments that come as we publish these podcasts, we do read them, we take them on board, and we assess the feedback, and we're always looking at how we can do things better if that's possible. Jackie, thank you very much for joining us today for the podcast. Once again, really informative, and on behalf of the residents as well as the council, thank you for all that you're doing. I fully understand the huge pressure you and your team are working under, and you're doing a fantastic job, and I think that's been well recognised, certainly from the feedback I pick up from when I speak to businesses, and the same to yourself, Pat, with the council in general, where we're literally having to plan operations on a daily basis due to the current situation. So thanks to Pat and Jackie for both joining us today, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again during the coming days with our next podcasts. Thank you.